Hello my friends and welcome back. It is episode 27 and there's been a very long break between this episode and the previous one, and that is simply because a friend of mine died and that just kind of sucked the joy out of gaming for a period of time. But I'm more or less back in the saddle now, so I thought I would pick this back up again. The intervening break has given me some time to review previous episodes and figure out what is going on with this mod. So in this episode I'm just going to be talking about I'll obviously be playing a bit as well, but I'm going to be talking about my ongoing strategy from now on. So what I've worked out is that weapons are doing 25% less damage, which I think I vaguely knew that anyway because it was mentioned somewhere. Not in the game, but mentioned in the comments somewhere. But what is also happening is that each pellet is doing 10 less damage, rounded down. So what does that mean? Well, I'll give you an example. So that means that this weapon, the Phoenix Point Rifle, is doing 25% less damage, which would make it do 22.5 per hit, minus 10 per shot. So that would make it 12.5 per hit. Rounded down, which would be 12. Now, I'm not going to round it down for the sake of the math, but that means that this weapon, against 0 armor, the most it can do is 75 damage. Now, if I compare this to, for example, the Bulldog. It's called the Bulldog, right? Yeah. So this would be 40 minus 25, which would be 10. So 30 damage, minus 10, which would be 20. 20 times 4 is 80. So what that effectively means is all the assault rifles have been massively nerfed. In fact, a lot of weapons that aren't very good have been nerfed very badly. But there's also no reason to use the Phoenix Assault Rifle, because the Phoenix Assault Rifle does less damage. The main advantage of the Phoenix Assault Rifle was that it did more damage than the Bulldog. But it does not do more damage than the Bulldog. It actually does less. It does less no matter what. So apart from 3 points of effective range, it is the objectively inferior weapon. And meanwhile, sniper rifles, they do 110 minus 25%, which would be 27.25, I think. Let's just call it 30 for the sake of easy math. That brings us down to 80 minus 10, which brings us down to 70. The sniper rifle is almost doing the same damage as the assault rifle, but obviously the sniper rifle has the advantage of range and accuracy. So what that means is that where previously each weapon had its own niche, and some weapons were better than others, obviously, now assault rifles, other than the ability that lets you shoot them twice, assault rifles have no niche. They are just objectively inferior to sniper rifles. So what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange all of our weapons to weapons that at least have some effectiveness. We're going to try and make sure that everyone's got at least one weapon that actually works. And we're going to scrap everything else. Now, each character in the base game of Phoenix Point might be precious because of the damage buffs that you might get. So there were a lot of skills in the base game that were very interesting, that made various characters worth building differently and worth keeping. So these skills were things like Sniperist, that added damage for the sniper rifle. There was a melee one, there was a heavy weapons one, there was like Biochemist, which worked really well for shotgunners or assault rifles, and so on. There were these very cool perks that really defined each character and were worth looking for, worth hunting for. Some people even spent a lot of time in Phoenix Point just getting characters of the exact perks that they wanted. In this, all the perks are just kind of meh. Quarterback is still good, but you don't get the... I'm pretty sure there was a damage bonus. I'm not 100%, but all the damage bonuses are gone, from what I can see. So that makes all characters pretty much interchangeable and not worth thinking about too much. Now, obviously, you still need to think about the main class skills, but the basic point is that we're not going to be able to offset these this damage minus. We're not going to be able to offset it by getting a good perk, because I haven't seen any. There are no exciting perks that, like, you know, you're not going to get plus assault rifle damage assault rifle guy. So there's no way to rescue certain weapons. Now we know that, we can just get rid of them. So this laser rifle is probably, I would say, is a solidly mid-tier weapon in the base game. Is completely useless in this game because it cannot overcome, much like the Phoenix assault rifle, it cannot overcome the damage degrade on it. Now, what's interesting to me is, and I've not 100% worked this out, but I think that status effects are not affected by this. Which means that one of the very best weapons in the game, in the base game, one of the very best weapons, which in my legendary campaign I used it all the time, on every character almost, even if they didn't have the the proficiency, was the neuralizer pistol. Now, if status effects are unaffected, then the neuralizer pistol will still be the best weapon in the game on balance. And it was, in my opinion, one of, if not the best weapon in the game in the original, in the base game, because you could get it very early and it made money for you. And one great thing about the neuralizer pistol was, if you hit an enemy with it, it sapped their action points really badly. So even if you didn't manage to kill the enemy, you would still very badly cripple their ability to do anything. And that's probably still true in this. This also means that, so one grenade which I never really used very much in my original campaigns was the flame grenade. Because I just preferred to just kill enemies immediately, rather than sort of hope that I would get them as they wandered through the flame. But in this, if status effects are unaffected, then they're going to be very powerful. Another question I need to answer is, does Pierce work on this hidden minus 10 damage? This 10 damage, I think, is like an armor type affair. If it is, the game may interact with it as if it's armor, which means that Pierce will go through it. Which means that the handgun which I got, which is not on this character, I want to reverse engineer these before I start using them. The handgun that I got, which is 2 hit, 10 pierce, might do 60 damage for 1 AP, making it my highest DPS weapon for action points. Which is funny to think about. So, let's talk about heavy weapons. The Deceptor does 420 damage in the base game. Now, if you do the math on it, which is to take off almost 10 almost 10 for the minus 25%. It's what, 8.5 or something like that, and then take off 10 again. So this comes out as something like 17 times 12. This comes to about 200 damage against 0 armor. And it's got amazing shred still, of course, because it's 12 hits times 2, so it's got 24 shred, so it's still good for that. Now, if you compare it to the leaf blower, they got rid of the sound for the leaf blower. It doesn't actually make the leaf blower noise anymore. The reason why I used to call this the leaf blower was because in the original version of this weapon, it made this horrible leaf blowing hissing noise. I don't think it makes it anymore. But if you do the math on this and you take off 25% to get 45, and then minus 10 to get 35 times 3, which is 105, you realize that this weapon will never be good, because the damage output is just way too low. 105 in the best case scenario for 3 action points is absolutely awful. So that can just go as well. This is, this is nearly double the damage potential. Now, obviously, it's less penetrative because it's 35. It's lots of little hits, little-ish hits, compared to 3 bigger hits. But even so, there's no case where the leaf blower will outperform the Deceptor. Because even in the case where the enemy has got, like, let's say the enemy's got 35 armor, which would be the best case scenario for the leaf blower. So the leaf blower is going to do like 25, then 27, then 29 or something along those lines. I think it had like 2 shred or something. Or did it have like 5 shred? But either way, the Deceptor will chew 24 armor off pretty quickly, and that opens up the enemy for further attacks. Might as well carry that spare mag. Right. So this is useless. Right. I can't remember the stats of the Iconoclast, but I get a feeling that all the shotguns are going to be completely useless. For the same reasons. Man, do I even want to build another magazine for this? Let's just leave it for now. So this is the guy with my spare Deceptor. Okay. So, once again, no point. With the damage output is that low, you realise that there is no point. Literally none. Now this guy's got heavy weapons proficiency, so maybe... as soon as we get some more skill points, we can put the Deceptor on this guy. The spare one. Okay, so this is the handgun I wanted to talk about. So this does 40 with 10 pierce. So what I want to understand is, does this minus 10 damage, does it interact? Is it armor? Does it interact in the same way as armor? Can you pierce it? Because if you can pierce it, then this is 25%, so 30 times 2, 60. With 10 pierce. 60 for 1 AP, 120 for 2 AP. That makes this significantly better than any weapon I have. But only if pierce works. If pierce doesn't work, then it's 20 times 2, which is 40, which is 80, which is the same as most of the other assault weapons. I.e., it's bad. I don't think that these are worth anything, funnily enough. Oh, okay. Mudok's fist is worth something, but the hammer, the axe is not. I'm not a huge fan of melee anyway, but we'll see. So the handgun, the reason why it did 27 in that one episode, that's what I analysed, is if you do the math on this, and you take off 12.5, then you get 37.5, and then you take off 10, you get 27.5, and then if you round down, you get 27. That's how I did the math on it. Oh, that was like that one time when I did 27 damage and I needed 28. I went back and thought about that, and then I did the math from there. Right, so that can go. Nurgle's Wrath might be okay as a handgun. I think it's 2 AP to fire it though. So unless that's changed, it's probably not that great. Right. 27 damage. Let's just get rid of this handgun. It's useless. I hate to say it. But 27 damage for a 1 AP is bad. Too bad. You might as well just punch somebody. That's the desperation that you're in. Honestly, the laser sniper rifle is probably going to be useless as well. I suppose if I find one, I'll use it. If only because it's slightly better than the Phoenix Point one. So this guy gets handgun proficiency at some point. This guy has like fire resistance and acid resistance, but it's not really explained how much of a resistance that is, and honestly, how does it even matter? If you're getting hit badly, you're probably dead anyway. Okay. So I may want to go to the training base at some point and actually pull characters that can use or obtain the ability to use sniper rifles. Let's actually just take these off for now. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pick up this because it does 30 poison. Now, this would be a really easy way to check if status effects are affected or not. And it's just going to be a decent weapon, although expensive. The funny part is that the Devastator, if you do the math on it, it comes out as like 112.5 per hit. 25 plus 12.5, 37.5 minus 10, 47.5, so 102.5 rounded down, 102 times 2, 204. So basically, this does the same damage as the Deceptor, but it's more expensive and it does not shred. If the shock is unaffected, then that could potentially be useful, but I doubt it's going to work most of the time anyway. So there's just no point. There's just no point in a lot of weapons. So we might add the Deceptor to this character at some point. Yeah. Grenade thrower. Okay, let's talk about overall strategic. Because I built a load of stuff which is just setting me up for, like, dragging the game out if I have to. I'm going to go from, like, here, down here, down here, down here. I'm just going to cut down, basically. And we're going to go and rescue Helena, which is here. I think it's this base here. Or is it this? No. Oh no, it's this base here. Yeah, we're gonna go and rescue her because that will start the ancient weapons quest line, which some of the ancient weapons are going to be like the only way forward, basically. That's the bottom line. Now, in terms of research, obviously I wanted capture and containment so I could progress the story. Reverse engineering the purification grenade if New Jericho doesn't offer me the technology in the near future might be a great idea, because if status effects are unaffected, then flame grenades are going to be very powerful. More powerful than Odin grenades. Right. Let's go. Nice. I'm convinced, by the way, that maintaining low amounts of money and tech gives you better events. Just like in EU4 and many other games. They look at your inventory and see how rich you are, and if you're like struggling, then then you get better events. Obviously, I can't prove it. I haven't bothered to do any kind of rigorous testing on it, but I believe that is a thing. Strength of Pandoran attacks on havens increased by 50%.
Construction complete.
So it says. Okay, another explore site just appeared. So one thing that most people don't know about research is Pandorans get weapons that are researched. It doesn't necessarily have to be researched by you. So things like Tritons, they won't appear with piranhas, for example, until either you or New Jericho has researched the technology. But it does mean that you do want to be careful with what you research, because the moment that you research something, it's going to start appearing. And some things are more annoying used against you than they are supportive. Towards your end goals. There's training and a satellite uplink going on here. Okay, I am building a research lab. Let's leave it for now. Three labs is actually more than I would ever normally build in a campaign anyway. Borsapa, a young poet is making a name for himself inspired by the teachings of the Exalted. He's written an epic in verse that is part spiritual vision of the future, part guide to letting go of the old world. Despite the heavy subject matter, it's easy to read and entertaining, even humorous. Mankind's flaws are explained in ways that get loud laughs from audiences, and there is overall feeling of hope. The poet would like to produce a beautiful print edition of the work as a present for the Exalted, but the heavenly leadership is less than enthusiastic, insisting the only thing really worth reading is the Gospel of the Exalted. Well, I want to please Anu. This will probably please them. The Empire efforts may not match the truly great editions of the past. The young poet thanks our operatives with tears in his eyes. Man, that was an overall net loss for me. But at least it takes Anu out of the danger zone.
Construction complete.
Operatives located an abandoned mining camp. Miners appear to have been killed not by Pandorans, but entirely by human security forces. Nice. Man, the events are being so good to us right now. And I think that's just because, like, I spent all my money, so I appear impoverished. So the game is like, oh, he's impoverished, give him good stuff. This is why building 2 food factories right at the start makes a huge amount of sense. Because I'm still convinced that it will also mean that you get better events earlier on. Melee and gun slinger. Is this the only recruit available? Sure, why not? We have plenty of food. I believe this question mark means that there are actually missions here. So let's bounce along these. Okay, I guess there aren't any missions here. Well, see, the great thing about having food production is you can just go ahead and trade food for whatever, knowing that you're not going to risk starving.
Research complete.
Okay, now I'm like fantastically wealthy. You know, the poisoned bow might be good once again if status effects are not affected by these debuffs. The old poison crossbow could get the job done. I also wonder if it's worth picking up a heavy. I don't know. Let's see what. I think the market changes like pretty regularly. And we can definitely see what's next. The Panda are down here, where they've destroyed these two Sanhedrin bases. I'm gonna, like, after I've done this mission, I'm gonna just connect the, or try to connect to this bottom area by exploring this site, and hoping that when I explore it, something else will appear here that will connect this section to this section, because this piece of river, or ocean I should say, is too long for me to get from here to here, so... Okay. In fact, I'm just going to pause it here, because we are 35 minutes in, 34 minutes in, and if it's a fight, then I don't want to get stuck in a fight. Because it will take, it will take 20, 30 minutes to resolve the fight. So, that is it for now. Let us continue on, and yeah, I've got a plan now, so we'll just see how it unfolds. I think, to me, while the mod adds a lot of structure, which is very good, I think the game needed structure. If my understanding of it is correct now, which I'm pretty sure it is, having calmly sat down and just thought about it all, it reminds me of Long War, in that basically a whole lot of stuff has effectively been removed from the game, and you are just expected to know which things are usable and which ones are not. And which things are usable and which ones are not, you know, appears completely arbitrary when you first start playing, because the game does not tell you. And in this case, it seems like a lot of weapons that were not that good in the first place have been effectively nerfed out of existence. I think status weapons will be the way forward. Or single high damage weapons like sniper rifles will still retain a lot of their power. But yeah, if you are wondering why, like, I was shooting at berserkers with my assault rifle and doing nothing, well, if you think about it, you're only doing 12.5 damage per hit against 0 armor. Like, even the weakest berserker armor is like 10 armor. So that's 2.5 damage times 6. I mean, that is so bad. But, you know, to beat the bug, you must understand the bug. So, here we are. This is the plan. And I'm going to go for ancient weapons. I'm going to go for flame grenades. I'm going to go for the grenade launcher. When I get the chance. Because I feel like those items are most likely to circumvent the damage debuff in a, you know, in a meaningful way. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys next time.